Okay, good evening, Raju. Good evening, Nitya.
Okay, Ashish, we are live on YouTube as well.
We are live. Great to see.
RK, we have David on the call.
I will bring him in.
David has joined. Hi, David. We are just pulling you in the screen. I'm checking. Jason has joined.
Not yet.
Hi guys, I think you can hear me now.
Very clear.
Yes, David, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, David, we can see you. We can hear you. Thank you so much.
Fabulous. You put me on a beach.
Uh-huh. Ashish, you're not audible.
Am I audible now?
No, very feeble. It was better earlier. Back home from the beach, David.
Yeah. Didn't feel good about having the beach behind me at 11:30 at night.
I know.
Doesn't like?
Yeah. Just a change of hemisphere, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, just a slight bit. Anyway, it's part of being on a global call, really.
Absolutely.
David, Jason, I hope this is not the name Jason R, right? He is not. I'm just searching in a attendee list. So far, he is not joined so far, I believe.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I'm checking. I'm checking.
I'll check in. I'll check in on our internal Slack and just see where he's at.
RK, is Rashmi joined?
I can't see her.
Yeah, Rashmi is there.
Rashmi is there. Rashmi beyond diversity. I'll pull her in.
I don't think Jason's far. He's online.
Jason is. I'll just.
He's online, so he shouldn't be far away.
What name does he sign in by? Jason?
Yeah, he should be under his own name. I can't see him on the list yet.
No, I can't see him on the list yet.
Yeah, he's yet to join RK.
Yep.
Meanwhile, let me share the screen at least. Rashmi, you are okay? Some climate change. Or someone else. Rashmi, you are able to hear us?
It's a one-way audio.
Yeah, he's there, RK. Manu, you can pull
I'll
him now.
just check. Yes, he is. Okay.
I'm not in yet. I think RK, that's some other Rashmi.
Okay.
Yeah, because she said she's not in. I'm not yet in. Yeah. Sorry, Rashmi, we have pulled you wrongly. Extremely sorry. Plus, yeah, but you are most welcome to continue with the session. Thank you all for joining. So far, we have around 130 guests. More are on the way. Welcome, everyone. Hi, Vikrant. Hi, Vikram, Shrikant. Hi, Jason. Good morning.
Hi, Rashmi.
Hi.
Yeah, Rashmi is there now. Yeah, Rashmi, because someone was copying or making.
I know. And I was like, but Rashmi was showing there, and I said, but I'm not the Rashmi, and I'm
since you didn't respond, so we thought let's check out. Okay, great. We are 2 minutes left out. Anyway, let's utilize the time. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. So this is another HR Shaper global webinar. Topic is very interesting. Thank you, Jason, David. David is joining all the way from Sydney, which is 11:30 midnight for him. Jason is joining all the way from USA, which is morning for him, which is 8:30 a.m. So this is what the benefit and the uniqueness of virtual get together and gathering, and that's what we are doing since last 3 to 4 months. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, Ashish. How are you?
I'm fine, Jason. Thanks for joining. Would you like to check the share PPT and all? Whether
I will do that. Yes.
Yeah. Then we can start soon. Yes, it's working now. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So yes, once again, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. So this is another global webinar of HR Shaper we have been doing since last 3 to 4 months. We were lucky to get most of the well-known HR leader, HR thought leader on this platform, and lucky to get all the delegates also from the all over world joining. So I would request everybody to just mention, they are joining from which location. If you're from India, you just put it which city of India. If you're from out of India, just mention the country name so that we'll get to know we have the global presence. And yes, it's a global webinar. HR Shaper is 6-year-old non-associated, non-registered body. We have worldwide presence, close to 10 to 15,000 people only on the platform, and then we are there on the social media platform as well. So close to 25,000 HR professional worldwide. Let's start. So I would like to invite what we are going to do for next 60 minutes. There will be introduction, which is just for 5 minutes, not more than that, because we have Jason. So Jason and David, we want to give them more time, and within 5 minutes we will have a couple of announcements for the upcoming session of HR Shaper or wherever HR Shaper is associated with. So HR Shaper is proud to associated with one of the unique program which is going to be conducted by Beyond Diversity. We have Rashmi, so I won't talk much. I hand over to her and just share, within 90 seconds what she is going to inform all of us about the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. I'm so excited to be in the company of Jason here, and we really look up to you, sir, and really looking forward to hearing your views. Welcome, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good night. I mean, we have somebody joining us from Australia also. It's 11:30 in the night, so it's a great meeting of all minds here. So I'm very excited. As we just said that Ashish just mentioned that with HR Shapers and Proventus HR, we have launched this program called iLeap, which is meant for mid-career women. It has elements of mentoring, coaching, and learning sessions curated specifically for mid-career women. And we have a platform which will help the women leaders to grow from the journeys currently, especially post the COVID world where everybody is thinking, what next for me? So if you are interested in it, please do look at our social media handles, HR Shapers handle, Proventus HR handle, and Beyond Diversity and Lean In globally is also signed up with us. So we look forward for you all to look at those and contact us if you all want to know more about it. Thank you, Ashish. I will not come in between Jason and the program right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rashmi. Yes, Rashmi will post the link also, and then you can join. So now there is an announcement for another unique series which is going to happen. Jason, I would request. Actually, I want to share the PPT. One is information, so I would request you to stop sharing. Thank you so much. So here it is. So what we are going to come up with here, which is going to happen next week. This is the series of HRMS and SCM application awareness session series. Where we are going to get more than 25 HRMS and SCM application vendors, and they are going to share what is their unique about the product, because in this COVID season there are many companies who didn't have software, who didn't have application. They are looking for which kind of application they can go for, cloud, non-cloud, on-premises, depend upon their headcount and budget. So we are going to have a 25 vendors. I will share the link of registration. Please join us. And this is mainly for not mainly, but this is open for any HR, but mainly for those who are actually looking for HRMS products. So this is the first one which is going to happen next week, Tuesday. It will go on 3 continuously days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So HR1, Share Your HR, Zing HR, Important, Oren, Darwin Box, Hono HR. This is the first one. And the second one I will just share right now. Okay, sorry, I did this. So this is the second one, which will on Wednesday next week. So where we Swift HRMS, then Talpram, Humanware, Streams, People HR, and GMO. Then there will be one more series which will be on Thursday. So yet to get a confirmation from a vendor, but most of them they will be there. Yes. So thank you once again all for joining. I can see more than 250 people. More are joining soon. I will pause here. Once again, welcome Jason and David. And this very interesting topic. Before 4 months, we were talking about future of work, which is being changed now. And Jason and David will enlighten us, how this is going to be way forward now. Yes, some of the things future of work already happening, but now how it is going to happen, which is now of work. We will get a lot of information in this next 40 to 50 minutes. I hand over to Manu to take this ahead now. Manu
Thank you.
from Proventus HR. Thank you, Manu.
Thanks, Ashish. Good evening, good morning to all our guests from around the world. Jason and David, I'm wondering, that, for us, it's probably, once in a week, once in a couple of weeks, or maybe a month that we talk at odd hours. But I'm wondering, when you guys have to do your internal calls, it's a BAU for you, right? Almost every day. Looking at the time difference, you probably have to talk at these odd hours all the time. But
no, only me, Manu. Only me in Sydney. I'm the only one that gets a bad deal. Yep, it's 11:30 at night, or it's 5:30 in the morning.
That's feedback for you, Jason. Yeah, but yeah, thank you guys for joining us. It's an absolute privilege and honor. For all our participants, to introduce our guest today, we have Jason. Today, Jason is the co-founder and CEO of Leapgen, with close to 3 decades of an extraordinary career, full of rich HR, business, and technology experience, including teaching as well at the Carlson School of Business. Right, Jason? Briefly, Jason is an entrepreneur and a leading authority on the future of work and the impact that technology can have on that future. Right, as an experience for the employees as well as for the business. In terms of how do you make sure that businesses are made optimal, and how do you grow the top line and the bottom line both, right? So how does it impact the business? Jason has authored 2 bestsellers, HR From Now to Next, which was the first one, and then later The Ultimate Guide to a Digital Workforce Experience. Jason is also a leading speaker in multiple HR forums in India, US, and other parts of the world. We also have with us today David Guazzarotto, who is the managing director for Leapgen in the Asia Pacific region. David is a leading authority in Australia on HR and the impact of technology on managing talent, and has been very deeply involved in driving technology-led change in the HR practices for a much stronger employee experience and an improved organizational performance. Welcome, David. All of us have accepted today that, readily or not, that technology is an indispensable medium for organizational survival, right? And what all of us tune in today would like to know is how best to optimize it. I think the HR fraternity would be extremely keen to figure how is it that they can leverage technology to change the now and the future of work, in the best interest of the employees. It'll be great to hear from both of you. And take away some real solutions for us. So over to you, Jason. Thank you once again.
Great. Thank you, Manu. Thank you, Manu. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yep. And Ashish, thank you for the invitation. I just had to start by making sure that you guys know we'll be using the chat quite a bit today, and there's quite a few of you on, so that makes it fun yet challenging. And my first question of the day is to David, who's already been using the chat, asking about a KKR. David, is that a new form of technology that I should be aware of, a KKR, or is that something that?
Yeah, it's a very technical term. It refers to the Kolkata Knight Riders. Do you know of them, Jason? Are you aware? They're one of the leading sports teams on the planet.
The Kolkata Knight Riders. No, I was not. I'm not familiar with them, but
no,
something to look up and watch in my spare time.
The Indian Premier League is about to kick off in a week or so.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully a good season for KKR, right?
I hope so.
So thanks you guys for having us, and as Manu said, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you guys. We get this opportunity in the world of COVID and the pandemic to do a lot more than it seems like we've been able to do in the past because of some of these, because of the technology like Zoom, which we're all in today. But what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about really how technology is not how organizations and people win, but really how digital thinking is how technologies and people win, and really help this great community just understand the difference between the two. So if we can get both of those accomplished, that's great. I'm going to go ahead and put in, because this always comes up, and Ashish knows I do this every time, I'm going to put my LinkedIn information in the chat. For those of you that have a dying interest in this concept of digital, please connect with me, or on Twitter. Please connect with me on Twitter as well. David will put his LinkedIn information there as well. and you see his Twitter address on the slide on your screen. Please connect with us. We don't talk about things other than HR technology and digital. You're not going to see pictures of my food that I'm eating or my kids or things like that. And thank you, Kapila. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right on KKR. We're not going to on LinkedIn talk about other things other than digital. So, really excited to have you.
I'll talk about cricket every now and then, Jason.
Yeah, you feel free. That's David. It's a little late for him, so he may be a little punchy throughout the session here. So, really quickly, from a Leapgen standpoint, it's really important that and Manu and Ashish talked about this. Is that some of you and all of you remember Y2K, and I always like to ask people, and if you want to in the chat, let us know where you were on December 31st, 1999. I was actually in a room watching a mainframe waiting for it to explode, which it didn't do. But soon after Y2K, became this concept or this discussion about Workforce 2020. And, for a lot of us, we spent between the years 2000 and 2020 not necessarily doing a lot. I shouldn't say it like that. We did a lot, but we didn't necessarily do the things that we needed to do to prepare for what we're calling the now of work, which is a distributed workforce, a workforce that's much more humanity-based, a workforce that needs to be listened to and cared for, and an HR function where we want to really think about the function as driving humanity, not driving transactions. Okay, so all that being said, we spent a lot of time between 2000 and 2020 preparing for Workforce 2020. All of a sudden, Workforce 2020 hit, or the year 2020 hit, and what happened? We're like, okay, we're going to spend this year, 2020, on doing these things. And then our global pandemics hit, social justice, the coronavirus. All of that being said, we got thrust into this world of now of work really quickly. So we can't talk about future of work, okay? We have to talk about the now of work. And Vanita, thank you for adding that. Y2K was a nightmare for IT and everyone around working on technology and business. The reason that we got through it was because of all of the hard work we did to prepare for it. The way we're going to get through all of this going forward is the same way. The hard work and the preparedness that we're going to take in thinking about how do we, as HR professionals, turn digital. Now, some of you are like, hey, I got on the Zoom, I'm already digital. That's not digital. That's leveraging a piece of technology to do a lot of the same thing we were always doing, which was, trying to communicate. It's happened since phones. It's happened, since fax machines. We've had lots of ways to communicate. But really what we're doing now is we're transforming. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, where we need to, A, think about what's our strategy? What's our strategy as a company? B, how do we deploy that strategy? And then C, how do we sustain value with that strategy? And that's really, really important. A lot of us just jump right into implementation. Let's just jump in. Let's just buy some new tech and go for it. And even Ashish on his previous slides, we're talking about, hey, some of us are talking about cloud and some of us are talking about on-premise. That's just a way to deliver a piece of technology. Okay, that's not truly a strategy as to how work is going to happen going forward in our organizations, how HR is going to function in our organizations, and that's really what we want to focus on, throughout the discussion. So I'm going to throw out this slide, okay, and this slide is, to me, the most important slide in the session. And the reason I'm going to say that this is so important is because it's not about what's on the slide, but it's how you internalize the slide. So these are the 4 equations for digital success. And it's really important that you as an organization have all 4 of them, okay? It's not as important where they sit, even though that's something we can talk about, but it's important that you practice all 4 of them. So the first one is understanding and having a mindset and a vision as to what the now of work means to your organization, okay, and what it means to you. Having a clear strategy as to how to get there, and make sure that we as people have full commitment to the adaptation that's required. Okay, adaptation equals unlearning. Okay, adaptation equals unlearning. And it's one of our biggest opportunities in HR to unlearn. Now, some of you are gonna be like, what do you mean? What do you mean unlearn? We've been learning continuously. We do continue to learn, but a lot of times we don't get rid of our old thinking. So some of our old thinking as to how do we do things, some of the old, I'll call them rituals that we do in HR, the once a year performance reviews, the once a year compensation increases, the once a year engagement surveys. Who said those still need to be once a year? Who's the god of HR saying that we still have to do these things once a year? That's not the case. So we need to set what our now of work is. Second, we need to design our now of work for our audience. So if I work in a manufacturing company, what's my audience? Okay, if I work in a pharmaceutical company, what's my audience? If I work in a retailer, what's my audience? My audience is different based on my culture, based on the industry, based on the locations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we can't just take and put a spread of the same processes and journeys across everyone. We need to understand our people and understand how our people think and how our people act and how our people work. Because like I said, if we put things in front of them that's an inconvenience to them, what are they going to do? Reject them. Okay, and instead of adoption, what do we get? We get people that are enraged, not engaged. They're enraged at the tools. They can't figure them out. They're not engaged with the tools. The third thing is really thinking through our concept around process and journeys, realizing that employees, normal employees, managers, they don't work in processes, they go through journeys. And those journeys oftentimes cross the different silos that we've built in HR. So we can't expect the employees and managers to know our processes. What we can do is we can invite them onto journeys in order to get things done that value them, but also value me as a function. And then last but not least, the technology. Okay, if I have the mindset, if I understand my audience, if I basically have a journey, then guess what? Then I'm ready for technology. But if I just start with technology, I'm going to oftentimes fail. I'm going to oftentimes fail because I'm not going to have the complete set of not requirements, but understanding of what I'm trying to do, what's of value, who it's designed for, and truly, how do I want my journeys to work? David, do you want to add anything to that? I mean, this is the slide that I would say is the, if everyone could get it tattooed on their body so that they remember these things continuously, I would love it. But David, I'll let you add something here if you have anything.
Yeah, no, look, I think the mindset is the critical piece here, and I think it's a secret to really, transitioning from what I would say are the old ways of working as HR to supporting the new ways of working. And I think obviously in 2020 we've had some events that have helped us to reset and to rethink, and to your points around unlearning and being able to reset for the future. One of the big things for me is, how do we think differently about the function of HR, think about how we can create a different way of supporting the organization. And one of the keys to that is dispensing with some of the old roles that we had. And the biggest one in my mind is about being the company police officer. So I think we can use the technology to help us to do most of that policy and policing and process work to enable us to shift our thinking and to become more coaches, advisors, and stewards for the employee experience. And I think the progressive HR organisations are starting to shape their thinking that way. But it's got to start with that mindset piece and having a vision for how you see the future.
Thanks, David. So if there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, let's move on. And what I really want to talk about is paint the picture about some massive things that we all need to understand. First of all, work has changed forever. I'm going to skip over these because you can read the slides. If you'd like a copy of the slides, we'll have a way to get those to you. Second of all, our workers have changed forever. What matters to them and why it matters to them has changed forever. Okay. Third, our business has changed forever. What we do, why we do it, and how we do it has changed forever. So all that being said, have we changed? Have we changed our function? Have we changed our processes? Have we changed what we stand for in HR? In a world where life is agile, changing, uncertain, and one of the things that I think is so important right now for all of us to understand is we are asked to be more agile than ever in a situation and a world that's more fragile than ever. Okay, hope that makes sense. How can we be agile in a fragile world? The way that we drive agility in a world that's filled with fragileness is making sure that we are human. Okay, if all we do is just flip the switch and expect everything to change, we're going to leave the humans behind. And if we leave the humans behind, we're in a lot of luck, or excuse me, we're in a lot of hurt. Ashish said, but we are the same people who are asking others to be changed. We are the same people. And that's what we're trying to do, which is why we have to continue to show value. Okay, we continue to have to show people value, and we continue to have to drive that message of humanity. So the days of static strategy are done.
We also, Jason, just on that, it's a great point, Ashish. I think one of the keys there is we are the same people. We have to be the ones that are making sure that we're on the journey ourselves so that we can lead the way. And I think that's a really important thing for HR folks to be doing. We talk about, the safety messages on airplanes where you put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on others. That's what, I think that's the call out for the HR function.
And people are looking at us now and watching us now, watching how we act, watching how we respond, watching how we treat others. So I'm not going to go into these polls, but this is an important question. Have you revised your digital strategy in 2020? There's 3 responses. What digital strategy? Yes, we revised it. No, but we know we need to. If you have not revised your digital strategy, or you don't have one, that's a huge problem. So Amit, I'm glad that you revised it for the new realities of life. But if you have not, and you don't have one, those are really important discussions that you need to be having. And once again, reach out on LinkedIn can help you talk through it. But none of us are doing what we planned on doing in 2020. None of us should be working off the same goals and objectives that we set when we entered 2020. So when we think about that, we need to understand this concept of digital transformation. It's a term that everyone uses, but a lot of people don't understand. I'm going to try to break it down for you really quickly. Okay, trans means making a thorough or dramatic change. Okay, making a thorough or dramatic change. Now, when we shift from one technology to another, what do? We transition. Does that make sense? We transition. We make a thorough change of technology. When we actually make a thorough change of work and what we do, we transform. So you need to ask yourself the question, are you technology transitioning or are you digitally transforming? Ask yourself that question. Are we technology transitioning, which means I'm going to take some new technology and do the exact same stuff with that I was doing in the past? That's a technology transition. Or am I digitally transforming, which means I'm taking those principles of mindset, of understanding my audience, of understanding my journey, et cetera, et cetera. And, Ashish, it is a huge difference, and a lot of us do this crazy thing like we go live. And then people look at us and like, well, yeah, you told us to get the software live, but it didn't change anything. And then who do we blame? The vendor, or we blame IT? When we really should be blaming ourselves in HR, because we actually didn't take the time to transform. Manu made the point, most of the organizations are struggling to get back to business as usual without knowing how to and expecting HR to manage the situation. I agree with that. And that's why this is such an opportune time. Because guess what, Manu? If we get back to business as usual, what's going to happen? We're just going to keep doing business as usual. We need to take advantage of an opportunity. And some of us, while we're struggling, say, this is not really the way I thought of an opportunity coming to me. And totally get it. But at the same time, sometimes we're not able to deal with the cards that we're dealt. But what we can do is we can turn those things into opportunities. Those organizations that think about digital right now are going to have a head start on those organizations that go back to business as usual and then try to get to it going forward. A question, what if my company does not support or does not entertain digital strategy? How do I present and make them feel? What is the company losing by not adapting a digital strategy? It's a brilliant question, and that's why I called that one out specifically. The problem there is that you don't have a choice. If your company doesn't support or does not entertain a digital strategy, your company is not going to be around. Okay, they're going to lose out on the competition. They're going to lose out on talent. They're going to lose out on the ability to be agile. They're going to lose out on the ability to grow and respond. Okay, we live in a world today where we're moving, looking at not just GPS, not just a roadmap, but true active traffic routing. Okay, and if I don't have active traffic routing, I'm going to get stuck in a traffic jam while everyone else gets to the destination first. Okay, so really, really important to keep that in mind. And if they don't understand it, try a presentation like this. Like, try to give them a presentation like this and help them understand that digital doesn't equal technology. Like, say, I'd love to have a discussion with you. Digital does not equal technology. And Amit, I love your comment there. Digital transformation means upgrade to new technology and adopt it quickly to meet the next era of competition. Yes, and reimagine work. Amit, if all we do is move to the if we upgrade, a lot of people just say upgrade, just need the fancier new thing. That's cool. You know, that's not what this is about. This is upgrading to the new technology, but for a purpose. Okay, but for a purpose. Now, why has this happened? Ask yourself this question. I ask it to people every single day of my life. It's 2020 outside of work. What year does it feel like in your company? Okay, we're all connected via Zoom. We're all using our mobile devices, et cetera, et cetera. If we want to get an answer, what do? We talk to our device. But when it comes to work, how do I get answers? When it comes to work, how hard is it to find something? You know, do I have a dumb link farm that looks like a portal, or I call a portal? Or do I have a true experience that allows me to find things quickly in a world where people don't want to search, they just want answers? Okay, the reason this chasm between technology change and organization change is so big is because technology can move fast. Most organizations are not good at moving at that speed. Okay, so very, very important to keep that in mind, is that technology changes fast, organizations don't change that fast. So what we have to do is we have to infuse digital in all strategies. What that means is I have to not have IT drive my digital HR strategy. I said that on purpose to an Indian-based crowd on purpose. Okay, IT is there to support and to fuel the HR strategy, not to create the HR strategy. Most HR people, when they hear digital, whoa, call IT. I need to infuse digital into everything that I do. I'm going to pause. David, do you see Raju's question there in the chat?
I was just reading Raju's question. He has two questions, in fact, and I think it's very smart indeed. I mean, one, this difference between automation and digitization, really good point. And I think this is, to me, the big switch that's been flipped in terms of how we view technology, particularly in HR. We were chasing automation for so long, and it was a very worthwhile cause. That was probably from the back of, as we were driving the whole Workforce 2020, after Y2K, we were about getting off paper-based processes, trying to automate as much as we could, but we didn't really change what we were doing. Digitization is a mindset shift. It is a combination of what's happening in the world around us and having to react to the increasing digitization of the world around us, and the use of technology becoming more mainstream and more, I guess, more commercialized in and outside of work. So that's, to me, the key distinction. In terms of harnessing empathy in the digital HR area, really, another great point. I think technology is showing us, we've had this pandemic this year that has thrust everyone, certainly those who are office workers in particular, we've been thrust into a very technology-driven way of working, even if we weren't quite there from a true transformation sense. And what that's meant is we don't actually need the business case anymore, right? Because no one put COVID-19 into a business case last year, did they? To get funding for a big digital transformation project. It was thrust upon us. So instead, now we have to run agile, and we're pretty much testing out a lot of the tools that we thought we might have to, really work really hard to drive into the organization through a transformation project. So now it's a matter of assessing, aligning, and continuing to run agile with that. In terms of empathy, I think that's a big challenge. I'm going to get Jason to jump in on this one, because I know you've been really hot on it too. In terms of communication and leadership and being able to stay connected with employees, digital's been a great enabler, but it's also disconnected a lot of us as well. And I think we're going to have to work really hard on ensuring we keep focused on the human side of things.
Yeah. So agree with you, David. And I think that one of the things I like to think about when we think about automation versus digitization is automation is just simply putting something online. Digitization is truly using that information I put online and using that data in other ways. Okay, that's really, really key and really, really different. So I'm not just taking things and putting it online. I'm taking things, which is automation, by the way. I'm taking things and putting it online and using it for reporting, using it for intelligence, using it to make decisions. That's digitization versus simple automation. So what we do is we want to optimize our processes that truly leverage digital, and we have to prioritize agility. Now, to do that, we have to have this concept of a vision. And when we say a vision, what's a vision? Everyone should have a story, a digital HR story. This should be your 30-second cocktail napkin pitch, okay, or your 30-second beer pitch, whatever you prefer, where you're like, hey, here's what we're doing around digital HR. Every organization should have that. Every organization should then follow that by a set of guiding principles. They should then follow that by a set of attributes. And then how are we going to measure success? Is measure success tied to how are people feeling using these tools? Is measuring success go live, which is a terrible one? Is measuring success thinking about the impact that I've made? So how am I going to measure success? What you see here is an example of a vision statement. And once again, you'll get these slides. This is an organization that we work with here, a global organization, but based out of the US, where they've created their vision statement. And then they've got 5 guiding principles. No matter what we do, Ashish, this better be simple, flexible, equitable, innovative, and proactive. And guess what, Manu? Your idea isn't flexible. So guess what, Manu? let's work on your idea to figure out how to make sure that it is. Because what we have to do is stop managing by exception. Okay, we have to think about the things that truly drive competitive differentiation in our organization. Truly focus on the things that are going to drive the workforce to act and behave and drive the humanity that we're trying to bring into work. And everything else, like notice one of my vision statement principles doesn't say get people paid. Like, of course we have to do that. One of them doesn't say compliant. Now, of course we have to do that. We may need to call it out even. Okay, but really, really important. What are those things that are going to differentiate us and allow us to move at the speed that we need to? And I'm not going to ask you to read all of this, but here's a blown out example of a vision map that you'll get, which basically is what's the story, what are the principles, what are the attributes, and then what are the measures of success. Now, to get your HR organization all aligned to do this, this is the most difficult part of this whole exercise. Does that make sense? It's the most difficult part is to gain that alignment. Okay, so really, really key to make sure that we gain that alignment and make sure that you take the vision map and use it going forward. So second, how do I stop thinking about, and Ashish, I don't want to get in the way of your comment earlier here, but how do I even stop calling things HR technology? When I say HR technology, who is it? It's technology for who? HR, right? No employer manager wants to use HR technology, right? That's not what they want to do. Like, I'm going to go to work today and use the new HR technology. That's not what they want to do. They want to be able to get stuff done. Or as Madan, I hope I pronounced that correct, Madan said, enable people. Okay, that's the world we live in. We don't live in a world where our goal is to buy new technology for HR. So all that being said, we need to understand what do we have versus what do we need. Ask yourself this question as an HR leadership team today. Excuse me, tomorrow for you. What do you want to be great at versus what is it okay to be performing at? What are those things that are going to drive competitive edge? What are those things that are going to drive competitive edge? Is it talent management? Is it offering new types of compliance? Is it onboarding? Is it learning? So for your business, your now of work, what are those things that are going to drive competitive differentiation? Okay, I love you too, Sahil. Thank you for the comment. That's really, really important. What are those things that are going to drive competitive differentiation going forward? You know, and Madan said capability management. Someone else said capability management. I'm all cool with that, as long as it doesn't get too scientific. This is not meant to be too scientific. Like, ask your people, what is it that we agree we want to be great at in what priorities? Okay, like, we can call it capability management, we can call it a sustainability management, we can call it whatever we want to. I'm kind of a simplest kind of dude, I guess. So I'm just going to be like, what do we want to be great at, guys?
Jason, we've been
on that.
It's being put to the test now, right? Vinita has put a really great comment up here, and really what she's saying is, you know, this has been thrust upon us, right? So we didn't get a chance to actually step back and ask this question, but we're now being pushed into work from home. We're putting to the test all of the systems that we had. Suddenly we're learning whether we were great or otherwise at a lot of these certainly a lot of the digital HR piece. The point she makes about that is, comment. So the point she's making is about, you know, we weren't prepared. And I would say no one was prepared. You look around us everywhere. I know India, you've had a big uptick, and it's a big problem right now in just keeping the virus under control there. We've had our ups and downs there. No one was prepared. that's why this thing's become a global pandemic. No one was prepared anywhere, except perhaps Taiwan. But and we're all learning as we go. We're basically learning, things that we need to put into practice 5 minutes later. So I think this is a great opportunity now. We're almost beta testing a lot of things that we thought we'd have to put a strategy around or get a business case around. So to Jason's point here, let's make sure we come out of this and we don't go back to an old normal, that we are consciously and proactively shaping a better normal than what we had previously.
Yeah, no, David, thanks for adding that. I mean, and there's two other things I'm just going to add really quickly to Vinita's point. What this helped, pretend we're in a boat, right? All boats leak, for those of you that don't know that. All boats leak. It's just a question of how bad do they leak, okay? As a former boat owner, it's not a fun thing. It's a fun thing to be on a boat. It's not a fun thing to have your boat leak. What every organization in the world is looking at right now is how bad is my boat leaking, okay? And where are we taking on water? Okay, there's an analogy that I like to use about that, which is thinking about that. How bad is my boat leaking and where am I taking on water? The second thing that's a challenge and an opportunity, and I challenge you to do it, is, Vinita, back to your point, which by the way, I'm very empathetic to, you have to play right now offense and defense at the same time. Okay, you have to play defense where you're like, hey, we've got this compliance stuff. Hey, I'm trying to deal with this health issue. We all are. I'm doing this webinar with you this morning. My son woke up with a cough. Okay, well, he's supposed to go to school. What was I doing this morning? Playing defense, going through a process, saying, okay, he can't go to school because he has a cough. But at the same time, I'm trying to play offense. Okay, which is how do we move the world forward? So all of us are in that mode. And by the way, it's tiring. So some of you may be more tired now than you were before. Why? Because we're playing offense and defense at the same time. When we're just playing defense, it's kind of easy. That's kind of what we've been doing. When all of a sudden we have to do both in a crisis mode, things start to change. There's a question from the Galaxy S20. How is this topic helpful for firms with manual system from recruitment to onboarding to performance to employee separation? The way that this topic is helpful is to make sure that we move from manual to somewhat of a digital model. So I know your name's not Galaxy S20 plus 5G, but to you, we have organizations that the only way to hire people was to be able to do wet signature. You can't do wet signature in a world where you can't go to an office. So those manual things break. And if those manual things break, it's really, really hard to run the business, and the business breaks. So it's really, really important to keep that in mind. There's another question from Shweta. What do you suggest should be done to prepare the employees for the digital transformation that's perceived a huge change? And many employees are not supportive, prepared, willing to go ahead. I mean, it's an really interesting question, and I'm going to be a little bit bold here. The employees don't have a choice. Your job as a CEO, my job as a CEO, is to look out for the best interest of my people. My job as a CHRO is to look out for the best interest in my people. And Shweta, one of those big comments, one of the big things I like to call is the T here for trust. Do you trust me? If my employees trust me, if my employees know that I'm doing what's in the best interest of them, and I communicate that frequently, always, guess what? They're going to go along with this, and they're going to get to the other side of it. If my people don't trust me, and back to Raju's comment, I'm not leveraging design thinking, which is basically unlearning, combined with making sure I'm designing for the right audience. It's going to be, I'll look like I'm tone deaf. Like, hey, you employees, I know you're not ready, but guess what? Just do it anyway. And it doesn't matter if you don't like it, leave. That's not the world we live in today. We have to live in a world where we build the trust, We're focused on the humanity side of it, and I'm doing what I can do to take care of my people. So yes, design thinking assists HR folks. And Shweta, to your point, organizational change management is huge. It's not, when I say it's huge, it doesn't have to be big. As far as like, it's going to take us 10 years. Don't do that. Just don't forget about it. Okay. How do we deal with the concept of getting rid of some uniquenesses and focus on simplification, get to the cloud, drive experience layer, make sure my integrations are there, realizing that people work in journeys, not modules. And then a concept that I beg you guys to think about, and something that I talk about a lot, interestingly enough, when I'm in India and Singapore, more than I'm even in the US, is this concept of where do machines and people meet? Before the pandemic, people asked me all the time, like, when are machines going to replace HR? When are machines going to replace people? And my answer to that question is never. Never. And the reason I say never is because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to look at these three body parts and ask the question, what are people good at? What are machines good at? So people are good at the hands work. Excuse me, machines are good at the hands work, right? They're good at the thinking about, hey, how do I take things that are repeatable, auditable, and documented and put them online? What are people good at? Hopefully, the heart's work and the head's work, telling stories about data. All that being said, I have to think about how do I say, let's focus on getting our machines to do the hands work and move our people to do the heads and the heart's work. Okay, if I do that, and I bring in some of this storytelling, I bring in some of this people humanity into what I do, all of a sudden digital transformation is not about technology. Digital transformation is helping me move and shift how work happens within HR to focus on the things that matter most. There's one question that I want to get to that I see. There's a question, why digital transformation not able to deliver what it promises? Ashish? Because people don't set clear measures of success. Okay, what's it promising? Okay, is it promising what? What's it promising? Okay, I have to make sure that I'm setting realistic goals about what I'm promising, A, and B, those goals have to be business driven, not value to me, value to them. Okay, so that's the biggest reason. The second reason is because most people, I love that, hands, heads, hearts, and gut. Thank you for adding that, because the gut part, it takes guts. It takes a lot of guts to do this, which I'll talk about at the end. But back to my point to Ashish, if it's just about technology, that's digital transformation is not going to happen when it's just about technology and really thinking about sequencing. Okay, so we have to really think about how does HR partner with IT, not IT drive the digital strategy. How does HR partner with IT? And that gets us into this discussion about experience. And I love how some of our questions are coming in from machines. Lenovo. Lenovo asked a question that I want to get to. And I know it's not really Lenovo, but I know that's not your name, or I don't think it's your name. But how do we maintain human touch in a digital era?
Yeah.
And that's all about experience. Okay, it's all about experience. Okay, Ashish attends, thank you for saying who Lenovo is, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce your name. Dhanashree. Dhanashree, how'd I do? Ashish, did I do okay?
Yeah, Dhanashree. Yeah, Dhanashree is the right. Dhanashree, yeah.
Okay, good. So, back to the question that Dhanashree asked is, how do we maintain human touch in a digital era? It's asking yourself this question: which of my processes and capabilities do I want to be high touch digital? And which ones make sense to be high touch human? Okay, high touch digital versus high touch human. Now, some of the things that we do, high touch digital is okay, right? What's high touch digital? Okay, here, let me show you high touch digital. 3 plus 7 minus 6 minus 8 plus 4 plus 2. Tells me 1 sec. It's 2. The answer is 2. Okay, how did I feel? It told me 1 sec. Like, that's cool.
Rishi answered before you did, Jason. That's what I love. The human answered before you did. Yes. A win for the humans. Good on you, Rishi.
But so the point is that it's trying to give me a little empathy. It's talking to me. It's understanding me, et cetera, but it's answering my question. Okay. Notice how easy it was. I didn't go to Portal, math, addition, 8 years old, typed it in and got my answer. What did I do? Just talked. That's high touch digital, and it got me an answer. Now, if I have a question about something sensitive, like I have a cough today, should I come to work? Do I want that handled high touch digital or high touch human? I might want to start digital, but then get to human. Okay. All of these questions I love, by the way. You guys, I love this audience. How do you get buy-in? You get buy-in, A, by making it easy, B, by making it a word that's like easy, simple, and C, design in a way that adds value to them, not us. Does that make sense? So if my employee gets value, if I got value in doing math that way, guess what? I'm going to keep doing it. If I got a bad user experience or it didn't give me an answer, or God forsake, it gave me the wrong answer, what am I going to do? Abandon. So the way you get digital is making sure, and I love the comment here, digitization is surely possible if experience, training, apart from implementation with commitment to the top, are followed. Completely agree. And bottom to top. It needs to be the whole organization. Okay. So what do I want to be digital? What do I want to be human? And then ask this question. Am I just trying to connect people, or am I trying to build connection to people? Does that make sense? Am I just trying to connect people? Am I just trying to get them connected? Or am I truly trying to build a connection? Okay, by staring in Ashish's eyes right now and looking at those purple glasses that I love, I'm trying to build a connection with Ashish, right? By looking at Manu and watching him through his glasses, I can see he's multitasking. He's typing a lot of different things all at the same time. I can see what he's looking at on the screen because of the glare of his glasses. Even though I made him smile, that's building connection. Okay? By calling on people like Rishi, that's building connection. If all I did is sent you the Zoom link and you sat there and listened, guess what? You're just connected. Humans don't like just focusing on being connected. Our next mission is to drive connection. And that's, how do I take tech? How do I take digital and build it into this kind of a discussion where I'm designing for my people, I'm designing for their shoes, I'm understanding how they're feeling, I'm understanding what they're thinking about, I'm realizing that experience is always additive, and I think one of the most important things is that my communication is real time. So ask yourself this question. Manu, when you reach out to people, are you reaching out to check in on them or to check up on them?
Largely, it should be check in on them.
Right.
In terms of
The
how they're
human
doing. Yeah.
part, right? The human part is check in on them, right? The non-human part would be to check up on them, right? I'm like, hey, is the machine working? Is the machine switched on? Yep. Okay, cool. You're working. So many of us during this time are putting in place things like, hey, what websites are you browsing? Hey, how much time are you spending at your desk? Hey, what are you doing? That's not human. That's not driving productivity. That's trying to measure like how much you're doing. That's not enabling productivity. It's measuring activity. You know, that's not human. I mean, that's not, you know, that if that's what HR is doing is measuring activity, we run into a really big problem. Okay. So it needs to be real time and relevant. We need to listen to our people, which means we pulse them, and we have to pulse them more than once a year. Ashish, do you have kids?
Yes, yes.
What if you asked your kids once a year how they were doing? You only talk to them once a year, and you ask, hey, once a year, how you doing? Okay, good, dad. Okay, done. Not going to talk to you for another year. That's what an engagement survey is today, for the most part. We don't do things once a year anymore. Like, I look at my wrist and I see what my heart rate is right now. Like, I'm measuring things every day. And then what do? I act on it. So the fact that my heart's about to explode, what do? Like, okay, I'm going to talk a little softer. I'm not going to get so excited. You know, let David talk a little bit, whatever it is. But really, really important to think about this concept of, hey, I can't just listen. What do? I actually have to act. Now, getting managers and leaders to do this, in a different event that I did and a different thing that I wrote, one of the things that I said, so great. That's a funny comment. Looking at another example of what I wrote recently is I said, you cannot, if you put out listening tools and you don't act, how seriously do people take the listening tools? It doesn't matter if I fill this out. Or what if I say, I ask the question, are you green, yellow, red today? Ashish knows we do this on our weekly meetups. You know, are you green, yellow, or red today? What if Ashish every week said to me he was red? And I never did anything. Like, I never reached out to him. What an idiot I am. He's red. He's a fellow human. He needs help. What should I do? Reach out to him. Okay, it's not just listening. Like, he doesn't just say he's red and like, oh, cool, Ashish, good luck. Like, I act. And that's what's really important for us to put in place from a manager and leader standpoint. That's what builds trust. Okay, so really quickly, when we think about experience, we're trying, and I realize we're getting short on time, which is, sorry about that. We get into these discussions around, we used to do a B2B model or business to business. You're familiar with that. Then we got into the business to consumer model. The world going forward is going to be a model that I like to call B2Me, which is personalization, heavy personalization. So I see Varun right there I see his video. When he searches for something, he doesn't want to know everything in the world about the topic that he searches for. He just wants to find things that are relevant and role-based to him. Okay, that's where personalization comes in, and that's where this concept of B2Me comes in. And because we live in a world where we have to make sure that inclusion is infused, which by the way, we should have been living that way for a long time, but we haven't. We've had diversity and inclusion sitting off over here, and then we've had people over here doing recruiting without thinking about how the two meet. We have to think about how do we redesign our processes, like engagement and performance, like recruiting, with that concept of humanity infused or inclusion infused. That's all part of talent transformation. So what do we do now? We ask ourselves this question: what matters now? We say, what do you have and what do you need? Now, if you have a vision, you have buy-in, you understand your people, you've designed for your people, you should be able to answer this question. So first, you assess. Second, you align. You coordinate your strategy. Coordinate. Coordinate. What does that mean? That means I don't have recruiting buying one thing, learning buying one thing, performance buying one thing, payroll buying one thing, and then you all try to do it all at the same time. It doesn't matter if you all buy things from different people. That's fine. It requires more integration, but it's fine, as long as it's coordinated and aligned. If it's not coordinated and aligned, it drives us all crazy, because we're all working on these artificial timelines and we know we're going to crash at various points because these things aren't aligned. So we've got assess, we've got align, and then we've got act. And from an acting standpoint, this is where I beg you to get your roadmap in place and realize that your roadmap today, as I talked about earlier, is not a static map. Okay, remember the roadmaps, paper roadmaps that said the names of the street, but all of a sudden, wow, there's a new road. Well, that's not on the map. Why? The map's outdated. We then moved into this world of GPS, where guess what? I could start to send down a monthly update of the new roads. That got us a little bit better and got us a little more agile. But we live in a world today where I've got active traffic. I need active traffic management, which basically says, guess what? When there's a cow in the road, what do? Go a different direction. You know, when there's a flood up ahead, what do? Go a different direction. Because guess what? I'm going to get to my objective no matter what. But in order to get to my objective, I need to know where my obstacles are. So just in summary, just to close this up, and then we'll go into some of the questions. And Vanita, brilliant question again. Vanita is my new hero around the world. Mindset needs to be created, people need to be understood, our processes need to be imagined, and technology is just used as the fuel that allows all this to happen. At the end of the day, nothing changes unless we change. Now, how do we change? How do we change? We adapt and we unlearn. An example of that for Vanita, how do we bridge digital touch points and human touch in HR? Vanita, that a bridge is an example of a journey. So instead of building a process, so let me share with you an example. An employee is going through and they're online. They say, guess what? I'm going to search on the portal and I'm saying, I'm having a baby. What's the first thing that comes up when they have a baby? Hopefully, information about what they should do to tell the company they're having a baby. Okay, but what if they get partway through the journey and all of a sudden they need to talk to someone? They need to press 0 and get to a human, or press 0 and open a case to have a human call them back. Okay, so how we bridge these is we don't roll them out in modules. We deploy them in journeys and realize one of the things that I'm doing is I'm actually talking differently in 2 different tongues about deployment versus implementation. Implementation is flipping the switches on technology. Deployment is how do I get people to adopt the change? And the only way to get people to adopt change is to what? Adapt as an organization. You must adapt in order to adopt. Does that make sense? You must adapt as an organization in order to drive adoption. So that's your question. How can company values like empathy be at the center of digital transformation? If your company values culture, what's one of the biggest things on your vision map? Culture. If one of the biggest things around your company is empathy, what's the center of your vision map? Empathy. And then you tell Ashish every time he makes a decision, dude, you're not being empathetic. Ashish, that's not empathetic. Stop now. Okay? And the only way that you drive something forward is if Ashish agrees. to either A, change it so that it is empathetic, or B, we have to add something else to our vision that says non-empathetic, which I wouldn't recommend doing. Okay, so get a the purpose of the vision map and the purpose of the principles is to serve as a fence so that people like Ashish, who's out there running ragged, doing all these crazy things, can't do crazy things that take the organization in the wrong path. One more question, and then I'll turn it back over because I'm sure there's more. How HR can play a creative role in creating a community rather than a mere workforce in the organization? Ambrish, it's a brilliant question. It's all
a great
about
question.
It's all about HR being human. How do you create communities outside of work? Okay, I realize it's different inside of work. Sometimes it's more difficult, sometimes it's less difficult. It's what's your vision as an HR function? HR, humanity, not HR, transaction. When HR calls, Ambrish, when HR calls an employee in your company, what do people think? They say, yes, HR's calling me because there's a new opportunity. Or do they say, oh, HR's calling me because I'm in trouble? That's a culture and a mindset that has to be created for HR. If your HR organization is one where people think that it's the police, and you go out there and try to create a community, guess what's going to happen? They're going to be like, oh, there's some secret mission here about creating a community. And guess what? That's really, really hard going forward. So anyway, I hope those things are helpful. Ashish, I'll turn it back over to you. David, did you see some questions in the Q&A or the chat that we should get to?
There's some.
I want to be sensitive to time.
We're going to need to do another session at some stage, Ashish, because there's lots of great questions. I'm just amazed, or not amazed actually. I'm encouraged by the insight and just the common sense that a lot of people have in the questions they're asking. I think the critical thing that comes out of it for me is we're experiencing the most important time to be human that there has been, certainly in my lifetime. And a lot of the questions that I'm seeing in there are related to how do we do better at supporting humans to be humans, and how do we create a better normal that is constructed around empathy and supporting every individual at a personal level to be able to, come out of the other side of the pandemic and be equipped to continue to contribute and to achieve their potential as well. The other thing that, and I think we will have to pick up on this, is obviously a lot of people on the chat here, and certainly Manu, your organisation is very strong in supporting learning and learning journeys, and there's been a lot of questions around learning, which we probably haven't really gotten to. And I think if we start now, Jason, we'll be here for another hour, I reckon. But I think it's a really important point. We're seeing learning transform rapidly as a result of digital. We're having to find new ways of supporting people, and it's really more and more about trying to get learning in the flow of work. And digital is helping us to do that, and we're having to rethink ways of being able to connect people with learning as well. That's a topic perhaps we can explore another day.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Jason. And we can see Jason can keep talking for a number of hours. I was fortunate. I was fortunate enough to listen him in India. In SHRM and People Matter. He keeps talking in various other HR leading body in USA, Europe, and Southeast Asia, no doubt. So, and he loved this topic, and I keep learning, relearning with him and many of the colleagues on every Friday. But he just talked about the digital meetup. If anybody interested, do let us know. We keep having a casual conversation, and it's very good knowledge sharing talk we keep doing on the different topic related to technology and all. Jason and David, we have practiced to invite dynamic HR leader from different countries. So we have around 6 HR leaders. They are from Nigeria, Australia, Abu Dhabi, Singapore, Mumbai, and Delhi. Mumbai, Delhi, obviously India. And they will ask the question: They are there on the screen, but before I hand over to them, it will go as a sequence. Patrick will be the first one, then Varun, Harsh, Sampath, then Dr. Singh and Anandi. You need to introduce yourself, your name, designation, and company name and the location, nothing else, and ask your question. You can pick up the question because most of the question already addressed by the Jason and David. But yes, you might have your own questions, so please ask the question. But before I hand over to them, some of the thing I picked up, Jason, check in and check out. I want to say I want to travel instead of check in and check out, so that I continue my journey. So that's one of the thing. Engagement survey, very beautiful find. I never realized that, if you do it just once in a year like this, there is no touch actually. Yeah, we need to do it on regular basis, like we keep talking to our kids and all. Green, red, yellow is obviously, that's a relevant point. Now of work, Jason, it remind me of one of the thing where, in future of work, people were saying flying car will be flying. Today, aeroplane not flying actually. So we can see the huge transformation, and we never thought about this. Now of work will take place. I pause here, Jason and David. I hand over to now all my 6 dynamic HR leaders, those who are there. Start from Patrick.
All right, Jason, my name is Patrick. I head the HR function for a marine company here in Lagos, Nigeria. Marine to be precise. This has been a very great session, Jason. You literally blew my mind away, and this first time being with you this close, followed you from a distance on Twitter, and it's been really awesome, Jason. One quick question, which will be a bit unique to our own circumstance here in Nigeria, especially with the COVID situation. A lot of businesses are forced to embrace technology. However, one question that a lot of business owners are asking, really, and that's top of my mind, is how do we measure the return on investments on our digital investments, especially in this era where a lot of businesses and organizations are really finding it difficult to manage the cash flows, against other priorities.
Yeah, so I'll start if you don't mind, and then David, I'll let you jump in as well. So when we think about business case, I'm just going to use business case and ROI and all of those topics, as part of the same discussion. So we look at two things. We look at return on investment, and we look at value of investment. Okay, so ROI and VOI. Okay, ROI means I can actually think about how can I save money. Okay, or ROI thinks about how can I actually generate new business outcomes so I can hire faster. And a lot of times it just takes us to go to what I like to call the other side of the equation. So we in HR have gotten really good, or bad, however you like to say it, at measuring ourselves. What's our time to hire? What's our cost per fill? What's our comp ratio? How many training classes have we taken? All that's doing, Patrick, is it's looking at me in the mirror as an HR function and saying, here's what I'm doing. But if you take that to the CEO of a company, which I've done many times, and I say, hey, Mr. or Miss CEO, I've reduced your time to fill from 52 days to 37 days. Do you know what your CEO is going to say? You've got to be kidding. It takes 37 days to fill a job here. And that's all about in the storytelling and the framing. So if I say I've actually increased the time to hire by 15 days, I've made it better by 15 days, which means I'm hiring 700 more insurance agents a day. Okay, on an average, those people generate $300 a day. Guess what? I've generated $4 million in revenue. Okay, so a lot of us in HR, we always jump into how do we save? How do we save? How do we save? How do we save? And I'd like to leave, or I'd like to make sure you guys leave with this comment of what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to do more with less right now. I'm trying to do right with less. Okay. I'm not trying to do more with less. I'm trying to do right with less. So if I combine the ROI, what can I save by maybe moving people around? Notice I didn't say eliminating people. I said moving people around. How can I drive value from what's the value to the business in business language, not HR language, but business language. And then third, how can I truly start to say this? I'm not making an HR case. I'm making a business case. I'm not making an HR case. I'm making a business case. Those three things, all of a sudden change the way people think about your investments. But that requires you to be able to tell stories that tie back to your strategy and your vision. This is why strategy and vision is so important. Like if I want to lose, 15K, if I'm gonna lose 15 kilos, what am I gonna do to lose 15 kilos? Here's my strategy. Guess what? My measure of success is losing 15 kilos. Hey, if you're bought into my strategy, you're gonna support it and invest it. If you're not bought into it, what do? Move on to someone else. So, David, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but
yeah, look, I think you've done a great job of. Yeah, definitely. I think there's one thing that I would say about the pandemic itself and what it's doing, and I think I've made this point in a couple of ways already. We didn't have time to make business cases for a lot of the technology investment this year. We were forced to react and to do whatever we could, and sometimes that was pretty low tech, for a lot of our workforces, and it probably remains so. But what it's done is we've gone from theory to practice. So our ROI, we could actually be doing showing proof now by having a look at what's working and what's not, and bringing that to the surface and to the attention of the organization to enable us to show that, even these low, small investments that we've had to make to react to the situations, if we can show that they've proved the points, then our business cases can get stronger moving forward. So that's probably a point I add there, Jason. Is they do say never waste a crisis. So I think we need to be thinking laterally about how we can, create the leverage we need to support our ongoing digital transformation initiatives.
And this is the first time when CEO and leadership is after CHRO and Chief Learning Officer. Hey guys, IO money, please spend in digitalization. This is the first time it is happening. So make the case.
So true.
Yeah, make the case. Later on, you can modify with a business case or people case or something like this. Thanks. Yep. I go to the next. Varun, you are the next one.
Thanks, Ashish. Thank you so much, Jason and David, for your insights today. It was wonderful to be a part of this one. I basically want to highlight one thing and maybe ask a question around it. When the first wave of pandemic hit us, what exactly happened was that we got into collaborative technologies first. How do we connect with our employees and each other as if you are working in the same physical space? But what it also did was that it kind of isolated us. The importance of that coffee break has never been understood more today. So I basically want to ask you that with 24/7 availability of technology, collaborative technology, do we also need to create a digital switch off strategy? When can our employees really switch off from work, which today at our homes with our collaborative tools is available to us all the time? Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Varun. I look after total rewards for TCS ANZ. David, I'm right here in your neighborhood in Sydney.
It's late, isn't it, mate?
So over to you to answer the question.
Right.
Do we need to create a switch off technology?
I'll just start on that one, Jason, and I'll let you pick up the threads. A couple of things on that, Varun, and one, I think we've had a very bumpy ride, haven't we? Particularly if you're in Melbourne, more than Sydney. But this whole, you're right, this whole going from physical place to digital place in a hurry and having to reframe every aspect of what that means from a collaboration, from a culture, from a humans working with other humans. I'm an extrovert. I am fueled by interactions with other humans, and I don't get enough of it, even when there's 400 people on a Zoom call. So introverts are really loving it right now. They say the meek shall inherit the earth, and it looks like the introverts are going to win this one in the short term. But I think it's what's really important is we don't try and emulate what the physical place is, right? We need to accept that doing things in digital is different, but it can be engaging as well. And I think I'm going to call Jason out. I don't know anyone who presents better than Jason in these digital formats, in engaging with the voice, with the chat, with all of the multimedia. And so I think we're all learning, and I think we've got to seek good practice, bring that to the fore, and try and use that to reestablish what a digital place looks like for the organisation. And the other point you made is about people getting burnt out by working too much. I think the other important thing is we've got to be able to get the mix of synchronous and asynchronous working right. We've got to ensure that we are creating the ability for people to be doing work when it's convenient for them around the other things that they have going on in their lives, but also when is it important for them to come together at the same time. And the 9 to 5 won't be always the way that will work best. Do you have anything to add to that, Jason? I'm sure you do.
I'm just going to say really quickly, I mean, Varun, I think it's a great question. And I think the biggest thing for all of us to understand is that just like we're unlearning HR stuff, we're unlearning a lot of our own, how we've grown up working, and I can tell you that from a mental health standpoint, that's going to be a key component going forward. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm not just trying to make mental health into something it's not. I am definitely more tired than I've ever been before. And I have more highs and lows in my days than I've ever had before. And the reason why is because I used to give a speech and spend some time with a group like this. And then I'd get on the plane. And guess what I would do on the plane? Sleep or decompress. Guess what I have to do in 8 minutes? Speak to another group just like this. Okay, there's no plane, there's no decompression, there's no clearing the brain, there's no what did you learn. So we all have to, in my personal opinion, Varun, and this is a little more personal than anything, we all have to, so I mean, for me, it's working out, it's exercising, it's what can I do, what are the things that I can do to clear my brain and do a reset on my brain so that I'm fresh again. Everyone's got their own style. So I think that's really, really important to keep in mind.
Thank you.
And Varun, let's have a coffee sometime.
Absolutely, you must.
With masks on.
Yeah. And 1.5 meters apart. Yep.
Thanks, Varun. The next one we have Harsh joining from Abu Dhabi. Over to you, Harsh.
Harsh, we can't hear you.
I would say examples which have been shared and perspectives which have been shared. I have a pretty simple and a very cliched kind of a question. What matters most for an employee in today's world, in terms of building that psychological engagement, where the world has changed, just overnight, and all the paradigms which we held till about middle of March or early March have suddenly undergone a change. So in this kind of a scenario, how do you really build an engagement which is long lasting and not something which is, just stuck in the physiological, realm of motivation? Thank you.
Yeah, Harsh, to me, it's all about creating a culture of safe space.
Okay.
And I don't mean to make that sound so simple, because it's not, but making sure that I, as an employee, have the opportunity or have a safe space to talk to my managers, talk to my leaders, talk to HR, talk to whomever about how I'm feeling, what I need, and have someone to go to for help. Okay, if I can create those safe spaces, what I'm going to learn, I can make so much impact on the business. Okay, But if I don't have a safe, if my employees don't feel safe, so, I'm afraid to tell someone that I'm tired, or I'm afraid to tell someone that I don't like working this way, guess what happens? I never deal with it. And we just kind of sweep it under the rug. And what's going to happen is that it's going to continue to burn out my people, A, and B, they'll eventually go somewhere else. Maybe not right now because of the times, but they'll go somewhere else. So for me, it's about creating a safe space. It's creating a culture of safe space, a culture that we are here to talk. We are here to listen. We are here to check in with you, not check up on you, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
And that I don't want, I as an HR leader or I as a business leader can't create a culture where people feel I don't even know how to say it. People feel that they're going to get punished for saying how they feel.
Yeah, they don't feel threatened, especially when it comes to job security.
Yeah, and because and a lot of and we're not just doing it to be like, oh, let's just be more empathetic. I mean, we're trying to be human. You know what I mean? I can't say that enough. Like, we're trying to be human, A, and B, that what you just said about job security. I mean, yeah, job security, but work and life are blending, right? I mean, Manu's probably sitting in his house. I'm in Manu's house right now. Is that weird? Yeah. But that's the way it is. So, it goes back to Varun's question also about balance. Like, I before the pandemic, I didn't turn stuff off. I didn't turn off my phone. I didn't turn off my stuff. I've had to start to get into the habit of at least turning off the notifications, because otherwise all you're doing is 24/7.
True.
And Harsh, we need to make sure that people have a venue to be able to say, this is not, let's figure out what the right working cadence is. And this isn't going away. You know what I mean? This is just we're creating our new now of work together here. So all of these tips, we're going to continue to learn from each other going forward.
Sure.
Thank you, Jason. We have three more questions. So let's go to the Singapore now. Sampath, over to you.
Thank you, Ashish. Wonderful session, and I think I learned a lot.
That's not Singapore. That's San Francisco.
Yeah. Sitting in Singapore, thinking that I'm in San Francisco because I cannot travel there. Well, my question is, again, I know you addressed this question on human touch versus digitalization or automation. I have always been of the firm belief that actually digitalization and automation can give HR professionals more time to be in touch with people. But I just wanted to know from you any specific examples for two things, where an organization, because of digitalization and automation, actually help the HR team to be more nearer to people. And second thing, which we have been talking a lot, reduce the stress. I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Sampath Kumar. I'm just moving into Singapore from Germany. I was there in Germany working for a global MNC called LAP. We are a manufacturing company, and I'm taking over a new role here in Singapore as the head of HR for APAC. So if you could answer or throw light with some examples, that would really help. Thank you.
Yeah, David, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Yeah, either way.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. In terms of I agree with you, Sampath. It's important that I think there's never been a better opportunity to use technology now, as Jason described earlier, to do the hands work, right? So we've got to be able to let go. And so some of this, as HR leaders, we've got to stop designing jobs in HR that are about policing the organization. We've got to actually say, here's the opportunity, here's the excuse. The crisis is helping us to create the environment where we can let that stuff go, and we can coach our people, because there are a lot of HR practitioners who are very good at it too. HR business partners tend to be, they enjoy supporting the processes, almost doing it for. We know that, and actually, so we're going to have to help them too to see their own purpose and to ensure that they see value in what they're bringing to the organization. But we're going to have to let the tech do more of the work. And that then enables us to really deliver for the organization. I mean, really, as heads of HR, as CHROs, as human resource practitioners and business partners, we need to be doing everything we can to support the humans in the organization for the human aspects. And I think there's been too much of HR that has been the protectors of the organization. We're almost been shielding people from the organization rather than being the stewards of people's journeys through the organization. So that would be the way that I would answer that, Sampath.
Thank you. Thanks. So I understand that the internal HR team first should have a change in the mindset before we even think of convincing our CEOs or top management.
We need to lead the way. Exactly right. And we need to show empathy in that too.
Absolutely.
So, we know there'll be people in HR who are bent out of shape because their jobs are changing. We have to show them empathy first so they can let their own experience guide others.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sampath, and thank you, David. We go to Dr. Singh now. Over to you, Dr. Singh.
Hey, David, really quick, I'm sorry to interrupt Dr. Singh. I actually need to drop off, so I apologize for that. I'm going to leave you and David. David, are you okay to hang on for a few minutes?
Yes, I'll a few more minutes.
I know
It'll
it's
be breakfast
late at
for
night
me.
for you.
Yes. If you promise there's going to be no 5:30 a.m. call in the morning yet.
Yeah, I apologize. I need to drop off, but thank you guys so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashish.
Look forward to see you on Friday. Yeah.
Sounds good. I look forward to it as well. And please make sure everyone's invited to our Friday event also.
I will send the invite. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So Dr. Singh, over to you. You are on mute, Dr. Singh. David will take another 5 minutes.
Yeah, I've got as long as you need.
Yeah, let's
I'm enjoying the conversation as much as you are.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashish, and thanks a lot, Jason and David. It's a wonderful session. I will just have the brief question over the digitization. Now is a lot of rush toward the digitization, digital transformation, mid organizations and large organizations. Everybody, it may be competitive to the people as well as the organizations. But my concern is what the top leadership drive to have a digitization and to the people and to realize the empathy or feel the people experience. And along with that, how the HR space, HR professional will drive from it and to look the next future workplace from digitalization. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a great question too, and I think we've been grappling with this this is not just something that's come up because of the pandemic. We in HR have been grappling with this since certainly as long as I've been in HR, and that's almost 30 years now. And that is how comfortable are we with technology in the first place? So a lot of what happened with technology and digitization in HR was we weren't comfortable, and so we threw it over the fence to IT or to the vendors or to systems integrators. And we thought, because going back to that original mindset for success that Jason showed, where technology, it's actually only the 10%, yet we were letting it be 90%. And we felt we would be better to throw that to someone who's an expert in technology, CIO, IT department, vendors, etc. So I think the leadership we need to show here, and it's not just in HR, we need CEOs, CFOs to be walking the talk on their own comfort and their own, how productive and how effective they are personally, because they choose to be informed by digitization and to leverage technology in what they do. And I think from a leadership standpoint, I think we need to show that data-driven decision-making is the paradigm for the future, that the gut feel leadership is not getting us where we need to be. And so by walking the talk on, being comfortable in this era of digital. I'd be getting your CEOs onto your platforms, onto your collaboration platforms, engaging, showing the way. I'd be looking for how, we can take friction out of processes by leveraging technology and digital as well. And as you do that, you start to flip it around to say, well, how does the technology support the worker? And you put the worker or the employee in the center of it, and that's where the experience starts to get driven. So that's a piece we do in that visioning up front. So by getting that mindset shift, we start to view it through a different lens, and the whole flow of how the digital impacts the rest of the way we run our businesses and how we support our employees flows down from there.
Thank you, David. Thanks, Dr. Singh. We go to the last one.
Thank you, Dr. Singh.
Second last. Anandi, Mr. Anandi Sinha, can you ask your question? You are there? Yeah.
Yeah, good evening, David, and thanks, Ashish, for inviting all of us. David, last 6 months has been very challenging for all of us, and overnight we turned from zero digitalization to 100% automation and digitalization. And you and Jason has covered this topic very well, and it was really enriching to know many aspects and learn from your experience and your expertise in the field. And we understand that the bar is raising every day. The top leadership expectation from digitalization and human resource function is increasing day by day. I'm not going to the positive sides, which you have already spoken and given us a complete detail about that. But I just want to learn from your experience and your implementations across the organization. What are the zero tolerance area which we should not, as an HR professional, allow to happen while we are going through the digitalization strategy and digitalization across the organization, which is the multicultural, multi-location, and multi-country? So what are the three things we should not allow? It's a 100% zero tolerance zone.
So in terms, let me just clarify so I answer the question correctly. So in terms of, when we're deploying or implementing technology, or we're driving digital transformation, your question is it specifically around the multi-country, multi-culture piece? So in a global organization?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest traps that I've seen over the years is we implement in one country, usually the biggest one or the headquartered one, and then we roll it out progressively. And when you live in Australia, Varun, and you work for a global organization that's headquartered in the US or in Europe, you are usually the 115th country that they roll it out to.
Yeah.
17 years after the first project started. I'm exaggerating somewhat, but the problem you have is you really don't. You're forcing a solution onto an audience, and so to me that's probably number one, Anadi. I guess that leads into number two.
David, let me clarify one more thing. Top leadership always look for the homogeneous solution across the globe. They look for the similar dashboard, similar information network, similar communication network, similar MIS to be generated. Same they want across the globe. So how to manage this and avoid this cultural conflict in the different countries?
Yeah, and that, exactly. I think what I just described was what happens when we let the technology lead. So we go out and we buy an SAP or a Workday or whatever the global solution might be, and we expect that to be the blueprint we can roll out across the world. And so we make it, mandatory to adopt the new processes or adapt to what we're currently doing around it. So I think that's a mistake, right? I firmly believe we need to come together first, get alignment, do the work on the mindset and the vision and making sure that we really understand what it is before we select the technology. And we're doing that informed by the broadest range of stakeholders we can achieve up front. So what I've seen that I think typically doesn't work is when we select the technology and then we put all of our energy and effort and money into the configuration and the implementation and the rollout of that solution. And we actually push people to one side in that. So I think that fundamental shift of putting people at the center of that. Now that might mean we've got to make some hard decisions. It might mean we can't roll out one solution to rule the world. And typically you can't. I mean, especially when it comes to payroll.
For the customization expenses for the new rollout, new country, the top leadership always asks, this was a standard product and the global benchmark product, and why you are looking for a customization for that particular country.
Yes, and we should have a governance process around the program that asks the question, why do you want that? And for that change or for that particular piece to be business cased. In the governance process itself. I don't think there's any problem with someone going down a different path if they can justify and they can show how that is going to deliver value to the organisation. And that's a governance issue. And to inform that, you have to go back to some of that stuff that Jason shared around mindset. Particularly, I think the whole great versus performing, that's the question you have to ask. Why are you holding to wanting to do recruitment with this particular tool in this particular country? Is it because there is so much competitive advantage for us by being different from everyone else in how we go about recruitment? And here's the justification for it. If not, then we ask you, like the rest of the world, to just be performing and adopt the tools that we provided. Does that help?
Thank you, David. Thank you. I missed
Thanks for the question. Great
My
question.
name is Anadi Sinha, and I head the president HR for the Uno Minda Group, operates from Gurgaon.
Thank you, Anadi.
From where, sorry?
He's from Gurgaon,
Thanks,
Delhi.
Andy.
He's from Gurgaon,
Delhi.
Yeah. So that was a nice question. Even David, that remind me that many of the country don't have a gender tab in the HRMS application, SCM application, whereas some of the country they want gender tab.
Yeah,
it's minor thing, but that's how the standardization. There is always gap and all.
Jason and I both.
One of my country, even the family background is not allowed.
Yeah.
And
it's important, those differences.
Very commonly using the parents and family and sibling details, but they don't allow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jason.
Yeah, so Anadi, what?
Sorry.
Yeah. So I think it's very late for David. Also, it may be 1 a.m. morning. David, here is the last one. I go to the guy. I go to the guy who's always on the field, and here is the Agnivesh. Agnivesh is from Accenture. And he is actually the implementation guy who does big implementation of SCM and all. Agni?
He's going to counter what I just said, aren't you, Agni? You're going to tell me
Dave,
that the solution is everything.
Yeah. So Dave, I totally agree with you, and as well as I empathize with Anadi. And then what we tell them that you need to keep your core clean, right? You need to keep your core clean, have a global template, then you can do localization, right? You can have some of the things, let's say in one of your geography, you may have certain fields to be mandated. So you can look at those. And the more important part that we talk about is the cultural change, right? It has to you as a HR lead need to be sensitized to your geographies, saying that this is what we are going to change. Probably they also need to change the status quo and get to the moving. So this is from my take, and wonderful session, Dave, and pass my comments to and compliments to Jason as well.
I will. Thank you, Agni.
So we need to keep our basics clean. So we need to keep our basics clean, because don't complicate, simplify things as much as you can simplify. That would be giving a good experience to all of your stakeholders.
That is a brilliant point, and one that everyone who's left on this, all 124 of you, must take away. If you do not have the foundation right, you can't do the cool stuff. You can't do any of the high. You won't get to analytics. You won't get to, being able to support the experience better without that fundamental, foundational data. And that's it's a critical piece of just like it is with the building, right? So it's a great point that you make.
That's true. Harsh, you wanted to say before I hand over for a
Yeah,
vote of
I
thanks?
just wanted to make
Yes,
one
Harish.
comment on what Anadi said and Agni, since he's from Accenture. I think there has to be a differentiation between customization and configuration. Because when you're implementing something which is going cross borders, you configure based on the regulatory framework, you configure based on the country specific requirements, but you don't necessarily have to customize. So you keep the
Correct.
core, as Anadi said, and you configure based on individual country requirements or geography requirements. So that was the comment. Thank you.
Yeah, that's an important point, and I think that's. I was going to say, both Jason and I, we worked together at PeopleSoft 20 years ago. Jason was in the product strategy team. I was in the Asia Pac HCM team, and I remember as the product evolved over that time, that every single country requirement that was appended to the bottom of the, and you when you configured, you switched on the countries and you get all these extra fields and all these additional processes and the like. And that was the old days. That was the customization days, Harsh, that you've just said now. Now we deploy, we should be configuring, and I would say not just the technology. Sometimes we have to configure our business or our processes because we can't configure the technology, and that's actually okay. Just because we're saying we're digitizing doesn't mean the entirety of what we're doing has to be supported by technology. And again, it comes down to what is the best way to meet the need. Sometimes it's compliance or regulatory. Sometimes it's ways of working or cultural. But it's really important that we don't just keep coding our way out of this stuff in 2020.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. It's just like you go to another country and how much you adopt yourself to that particular country. It is just like that, Okay, so I pause here. I hand over to Manu. It's too late for every one of us. More than I think 90 to 100 minutes. Over to you, Manu.
Thank you, Ashish. And David, I mean, tons of learning there. But I must say, one thing that really intrigues me is, one of the values that I saw on Leapgen side is audacity. I think that's something that all of us from the HR folks, we really need to, take up on that and take these big audacious decisions and steps forward in leading this change. But from all of our side, I think 130 of us left here. It was a great session. Thanks so much for staying up really late. I really hope you get some sleep in the morning. Please do convey our thanks to Jason as well. It's a lot of learning for us. Hopefully we'll get an opportunity to speak with you again soon. And thank you for all our sort of panelists on the panel with us, and also the participants from all over the globe. It was great to have you with us. Hopefully we'll see you soon for the next session.
We're all in this together, Manu.
Absolutely, David.
And
thank you so much.
One of our other values is love. And a lot of love on the call. And thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to spend the time with you tonight.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, everyone else.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
अग्नि तूने क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा. मनु 5 मिनट और चलेगा?
Done. So we'll log off. Yeah.
नहीं, तुम लॉग ऑफ करोगे तो बंद हो जाएगा ना.
अच्छा, ओके.
आपको बना देता हूँ.
हाँ, मुझे होस्ट बना दो. हाँ, that would be good.
All right. Thank you, Ashish. Bye.
Bye. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Manu.
Good night, Agni.
Agni, wait. Huh?
Bye.
I'm the host now. I hope it doesn't switch off.
No, don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay. Anybody else just like to join us for a conversation? Short and quick conversation. Thank you.
Anadi's still here.
Yeah, Anadi sir, thanks for joining. It was great to see you.
Yeah. After ages, I saw him.
Agnivesh.
Yeah.
Agnivesh, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, but Agnivesh, for 3 years I was in Gujarat, Ahmedabad, and came back just before pandemic. So I was out of fraternity for 3 years continuous.
Good to see you back. So, मतलब, I'm just waiting for the pandemic to be over. So my all organic greens, जितनी हमने farming की है ना, सब आपके पास आने वाला है.
So that's the other work happening, is it? Organic farming.
Yeah.
And Adi sir, we spoke on the phone a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, is it okay? I didn't know that both of you connected. Oh, good.
Yeah, no, we connected offline. Yeah. But yeah, this challenge of customization versus configuration is just an incredible, permanently existing problem.
Bigger problem is that the leadership sitting in the corporate office, they feel that everything should be common. They don't understand that, okay, there is a cultural difference, there is a societal difference, but they look for everything common at one place.
Correct. No, it's impossible. I remember doing one such implementation in SAP. And this was with a large public sector heavy engineering company. It was, at times you would think, how in the world will this ever work, right? One layer has this exact expectation of everything same all across.
Yeah.
And the next level is saying that everything should be customized as per the user who's using it. So, Agni, if you're driving such implementations, I have done 2 in my life. As an SAP consultant.
No, I know. In SAP, it was okay. In SAP, in like on-prem, it was still okay. But in cloud, you don't have flexibility to do customization, right?
No, but
on-prem, still you can do that. Because
the impact on the ground, on the ground of customization is really bad.
I totally understand. I totally relate to it, right? That's why we say that, for at least for the on-prem, right? Erstwhile SAP HCM, it was still okay because you can create those rules and you can, because the code was with you. But after we moved into cloud, we don't have much of the customization, right? It has to just has to be keep it your standard as much as you can. Otherwise, you have to live without it, right? You cannot have this session and doing that, right? Because and this is the way even product is showing. So what I hear from a lot of CHROs when we discuss with them, and what they say that, fine, I understand there is a problem. I'll do one thing. I'll change my processes to suit your software itself, right? So most of the time it's like win-win
That's
situation.
magic.
Because this is the art of consulting. So Anadi, we can talk offline.
Yeah, sure.
We can talk offline on that, right? So how to do the system. But having said that, let's keep your the global template, we call it, right, as a simple template, and then based on your geographical requirement as a cluster requirement, you can make certain changes, certain customization, or certain configurations matching your legal or business requirement for that particular geography. Let's say now you might also be knowing about the way it's coming, the rule and regulation, right? Recently Indonesia passed some of the regulation. Thailand has some of the data protection laws, right? GDPR is already there, right? And you cannot have your data center somewhere else. So, how can you harmonize all the processes, right? How can you harmonize all the processes, make sure that you are running your business with a lot of simple things, right? Because, see, Anadi will be frustrated because when his stakeholders say that they paid a lot of money, and what is the value they are getting, right? Because nothing is streamlined. We talk about simplification, nothing is happening. Then probably we also need to build a use cases. And I know, Anadi, how much pain that you need to go for, because in my previous role, I was the one who was getting things implemented as a customer, right? So I understand the pain in getting the process harmonized from the various stakeholders, right? The only thing that we say that have patience, something, technology cannot give you everything, what you expect. Probably something that we need to also take it out of the system, right? If you want, if this is, you're actually the system, but major, because even if you look at product gives you almost 90 to 95% suited, challenges. Only 5% or 6%, 5% is the one which is not getting, managed by your customer requirements, which is slowly all product is also trying to overcome with, let's say, releasing the localization patches or something like that.
Correct.
Yeah. This is evolving. This keeps evolving. Yeah,
it's ever evolving.
I can recall the 20 years back and today, lot of difference. 20 years back, it used to take 6 months to do one kind of customization. Nowadays, it's very easy.
Yeah.
Correct. I pulled in some of known faces, known names actually. Anybody can switch off the video and then talk. Captain
Ashish, I'll take your leave. Sorry, I have to just get some work done with the kids. So thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Good night, everybody. Thanks.
We need to sign off because Manu switch up.
No, I think RK has made you the host, so I think you should be okay if I sign off.
In any case, it's 2 hours now,
okay.
so we should log off and.
Manu, just you leave the meeting. Let's see what happens.
Let's see. Good luck and good night.
Yeah.
Speak to you soon, Manu. Yeah.
So, AG, is this closed door happening now? Huh?
It's working, guys. Okay, thanks. Okay, great. Captain Rahul, Aishwarya, Sukrit. Yeah, switch off.
Yeah, I never realized that it gives you a speaking option after the session gets over. Good to connect with you all.
Okay, Vikram Sateji. Then we have 2 gentlemen from Nigeria or which? Kenya, Zimbabwe.
Agnivesh, I will take leave. Okay, Ashish.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for joining. Anybody just like to join us for a short conversation? We can then sign off. Raise your hand. Okay.
You are making people work a lot hard, Ashish. After being in a virtual community, you have to raise your hand also.
No. Okay. Gogo is saying.
So just like that Dell joke was there, no? That you need to find your computer on your computer. So you need to tell that raise your hand using the tool of raise your hand. Otherwise, people will be raising their hands and eventually.
This is webinar option, now. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is not a meeting option. Okay, so that was Gogo. Gogo, you're joining from?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It's evening here